diagnosed with terminal cancer. I lay bedridden while my husband celebrated his childhood sweetheart's birthday at a nightclub. His friend sent me a video. There he was, holding her in his arms, eyes filled with a tenderness I'd never known. "You've suffered so much these years," he murmured. "Once she's gone, I'll marry you." I coughed up a mouthful of blood and died on the spot. But I was reborn, right back to our wedding day. Again, he left me stranded in the rain for her. But this time, I didn't wait. I climbed into his arch-rival's car. Inside, the man who ruled New York's business world brushed the rain from my face and smiled softly. "Want revenge? Marry me. I'll help you." Before we continue, subscribe to this channel and tell us where you're listening from in the comments. Cold liquid trickled down my chin, thick with the metallic taste of blood. On my phone screen, the noisy nightclub lit up with Ethan Cross, my husband, holding Chloe Bennett, his so-called weak and fragile childhood sweetheart. The affection in his eyes was a knife to my heart. In 3 years of marriage, he'd never looked at me that way. "You've suffered so much these years," he whispered to her. "Once she's gone, I'll marry you." Those were my last words. Along with the video, his friend sent a mocking text. "Sis, Ethan's not coming home tonight." Rage and grief overwhelmed me. I spat blood and collapsed, dead before I hit the floor. Boom! A clap of thunder jolted me from the endless darkness. I gasped for air, my heart pounding, sweat soaking through my wedding dress. Around me was our bridal suite, our wedding photo hung on the wall, a cruel reminder of the life I'd lost. I was reborn. Trembling, I grabbed my phone. The date stared back at me. Our wedding day. Buzz, buzz. The phone vibrated. The caller ID read, "Husband." Staring at those 2 words, the memory of my death flooded back. Hatred sprouted like weeds in my chest. I let it ring. Seconds later, the bedroom door slammed open. Ethan strode in, his tailored suit crisp, his face twisted with impatience. "Luna Reed, are you deaf? Why aren't you answering your phone?" His tone was exactly the same as before, arrogant, dismissive, like I was beneath him. I looked up, my gaze cold as ice. This was the man who'd used my family's wealth to propel his career, all while coddling his childhood sweetheart. He'd waited for me to die so he could replace me. Ethan shifted uncomfortably under my stare. "What are you looking at?" Before I could reply, his phone rang. When he saw the caller ID, his irritation melted into panic and tenderness. "Chloe, what's wrong? Don't cry. Are you feeling unwell again?" "Which hospital?" "I'm on my way. Stay there. I'll be right with you." He hung up, didn't spare me a glance, and grabbed his car keys. At the door, he paused, as if remembering I existed. "Chloe's sick. I have to go. Take an Uber home. Don't call my mom to complain." The door slammed shut, leaving me alone in the cold, empty mansion. The rain poured harder. In my past life, I'd waited for him all night in my thin wedding dress, soaked to the bone. When he finally came home, drenched in Chloe's perfume, he'd snapped, "Who told you to wait? You're sick because you're stupid." That was the day my life became a joke. I'd cut ties with my family, abandoned my design career, and spent 3 years waiting on him and his family hand and foot. But my devotion only earned me his betrayal and a death sentence. Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. This time, I wasn't waiting. I wiped my tears, my eyes hardening with hatred. I stepped outside, letting the cold rain drench me, washing away the last of my naive illusions. A black Bentley glided to a stop in front of me, blending into the night yet exuding an unmistakable aura of power. The window rolled down, revealing a face so handsome it bordered on dangerous. Silas Voss, heir to the Voss Empire, New York's most influential tycoon, and Ethan's sworn enemy. I'd only seen him on financial news. He'd built his family's fortune into a global powerhouse, a level Ethan could never reach, no matter how hard he tried. I had no idea why he was here. He looked at my soaked, disheveled state without surprise, as if he'd been expecting me. He held out a clean towel, his deep, velvety voice cutting through the rain. "Want revenge?" My body went rigid. He smiled, his lips curving into a dangerous arc. "Marry me. I'll help you destroy him." I stared into his endless dark eyes, remembering my brutal death, Ethan's betrayal, Chloe's smirk. Hatred consumed me. I pulled open the car door and slid in. The warm air inside seeped into my cold bones. I took the towel, dried my face, and met his gaze head-on. "I'll marry you." Silas didn't seem surprised. He started the car, merging smoothly into the traffic. Instead of taking me to the Voss mansion, he dropped me at a luxury penthouse in Midtown and handed me a key card. "This is my private residence. No one will bother you. Rest well. I'll pick you up tomorrow." He paused, adding, "Don't worry about the divorce. I'll handle Ethan." I gripped the warm key card and nodded. "Thank you." That night, I slept better than I had in years. No more waiting, no more heartache, just the quiet promise of revenge. The next day, I didn't return to the home I shared with Ethan. Using the credit card Silas had left me, I bought a new outfit and spent the afternoon in a cafe, planning my next move. I returned to the bridal suite that evening. As soon as I opened the door, a drunk Ethan stumbled toward me, yelling, "Luna, you've got some nerve, staying out all night and ignoring my calls." His eyes were bloodshot, his usually polished demeanor replaced by rage. Gone was the charming millionaire. Here was the petty, spoiled man he truly was. I calmly kicked off my heels, walked past him, and sat on the couch. "I thought you'd be with Chloe. I didn't expect you home." My cold, calm tone caught him off guard. He froze, then grew angrier. "What's with this attitude? Do you know how many calls I made? Where the hell were you in my past life?" His anger terrified me. I'd apologize profusely, begging for his forgiveness. But now, I just found him pathetic. "Do I need to report my whereabouts to you, Mr. Cross?" I mimicked his cold, distant tone. "You," Ethan sputtered, his chest heaving. He'd never seen me like this, defiant, unafraid. For 3 years, I'd been his obedient little wife, and now I was talking back. He loosened his tie, trying to calm down. "Luna, I know you're mad I left yesterday, but Chloe's always been fragile. I can't abandon her." There it was, the same excuse he'd used for years. Chloe's coughs, her tears, her weakness, they were his get-out-of-jail-free card for every betrayal. I didn't bother arguing. "Are you done? I'm going upstairs." "You," his temper flared again. "Stop acting like this. I'm warning you. Don't play these games with me." I stood, looking down at him, a sneer tugging at my lips. "Ethan, you're far too conceited." I walked up the stairs, ignoring his enraged shouts and the sound of him smashing things downstairs. This was just the beginning. Everything he'd taken from me, I'd get back, one piece at a time. The next morning, I was woken by a shrill phone call. It was Chloe. I stared at her name flashing on the screen, my eyes turning cold. I answered. "Luna, darling, you're not mad at Ethan, are you?" Her voice was sickeningly sweet, laced with fake concern. "He stayed with me all night. I'm so sorry, I'm always bothering him. I just can't help being so weak." Her words were an apology, but every syllable was a bragging that Ethan chose her over me. In my past life, this would have driven me into a rage, leading to a fight with Ethan and accusations that I was evil and jealous. Now, I just found her annoying. "Are you done?" Chloe paused, clearly shocked by my response. She quickly regained her composure, her voice trembling. "I know you don't like me, but Ethan and we grew up together. Our bond is something you'll never understand. Please, can you just be kind? Don't make things hard for him." I scoffed and hung up. Talking to her was a waste of breath. Sure enough, minutes later, my phone rang again. It was Margaret Cross, Ethan's mother, my former mother-in-law. As soon as I answered, she launched into a tirade. "Luna Reed, you're getting more and more disrespectful by the day. Chloe called to apologize, and you hung up on her. Let me tell you something. Chloe's been fragile since she was a kid. Ethan's duty is to take care of her. As his wife, you need to be more understanding. Stop being so petty. You're embarrassing the Cross family." I'd heard these words 1,000 times. In the past, I'd begged for her to listen, to understand, but she'd only doubled down, gaslighting me into thinking I was the problem. They'd always seen Chloe as their real daughter-in-law. I was just a convenient pawn, a way to get my family's money and connections. "Mom, are you finished?" My voice was flat, emotionless. Margaret snapped. "What's with that tone? Do you have any respect for your elders? You will apologize to Chloe now. Otherwise what?" I cut her off, my voice turning icy. "You'll kick me out and let her move in." Silence. I could picture her shocked, furious face. I hung up and blocked her, Ethan, and Chloe's numbers. I couldn't stand another minute in that toxic house. I pulled out my suitcase and packed my things, only the items that belonged to me. The clothes, bags, and jewelry Ethan had given me. I left them all. They were just reminders of his lies. As I grabbed my suitcase, Ethan stormed upstairs, his face dark with rage. He'd clearly talked to his mother. "Luna, you hung up on my mom. Do you want to get kicked out of this house?" He snatched my suitcase and threw it on the floor. "What are you up to? Running away? You think I'll beg you to stay?" I looked at his twisted face, feeling nothing but disgust. "Ethan, let's get divorced." "Divorced?" Ethan laughed, as if I'd told a joke. "Luna, have you lost your mind? You're asking me for a divorce." He stepped closer, his eyes filled with contempt. "Who do you think you are? Without the Cross family, without me, you're nothing. I never would have married you if you hadn't begged and pleaded for it." His words cut deep, but not in the way he intended. They reminded me of how I'd been, how I'd loved him so much I'd lost myself. I'd thought that if I was good enough, kind enough, he'd finally love me back. I was wrong. People who don't love you will never care, even if you die for them. I took a deep breath, pushing down the surge of hatred. I'm done being your doormat. Divorce is best for both of us. Best for me. Ethan sneered. You just want my money, don't you? I never realized you were so greedy. At that moment, a soft voice echoed from the doorway. Ethan, don't blame Luna. It's all my fault. If I hadn't gotten sick, you two wouldn't be fighting. Chloe stood there in a white dress, her eyes red and puffy, looking like she was about to faint. As soon as she appeared, Ethan's gaze turned even more hostile toward me. He pulled Chloe into his arms, comforting her gently. It's not your fault. She's just being unreasonable. He turned back to me, his eyes filled with disgust. Luna, I've had enough. You want to leave? Fine. Divorce it is. A cruel smile crossed his face. But you're getting nothing. You're walking out of here with empty hands. Empty hands. Those words hit me like a punch. In my past life, he'd done the same, forced me out with nothing, stealing my parents' company shares and leaving me to die alone. Chloe leaned into Ethan's arms, a tiny, triumphant smile on her lips. She thought she'd won. I was about to tell them they'd made a terrible mistake when the front door of the mansion burst open. A tall, imposing figure stood in the doorway, backlit by the sun. Behind him were two bodyguards and a man in a tailored suit holding a briefcase. It was Silas. His presence filled the room, freezing everyone in place. He strode toward me, pulling me behind him protectively, natural, possessive, unyielding. Ethan paled. Silas Voss. What are you doing here? Luna, what's going on between you two? Silas didn't even glance at him. He looked down at me, his voice soft. Did he hurt you? I shook my head. He finally turned to Ethan and Chloe, his gaze cold as steel. I'm afraid that's not possible. She's my wife now. With that, the lawyer stepped forward, holding up a bright red marriage certificate. Impossible to miss. Impossible to deny. Ethan and Chloe's faces turned as white as paper. They stared at the certificate, as if seeing a ghost. No, that's not possible. Ethan stammered. Luna, when did you? Silas's icy glare cut him off. His aura was overwhelming. Years of leading a global empire had given him a presence that Ethan, a spoiled heir, could never match. Silas didn't waste time on pleasantries. He nodded at the lawyer. The lawyer cleared his throat. Mr. Cross, regarding my client Luna Voss's divorce from you and the division of marital assets, we will be in contact with your legal team shortly. Additionally, he said, adjusting his glasses, Mr. Voss has instructed that Ms. Voss receive all her rightful premarital property and compensation. If you attempt to hide assets or force her to leave with nothing, the Voss legal department will be happy to discuss this with Cross Enterprises. The Voss legal department. Those 5 words hung in the air like a death sentence. Ethan knew Silas wasn't bluffing. Going up against the Voss legal team was suicide. His face turned purple with rage and fear. Chloe clung to his arm, her eyes filled with jealousy and hatred. She couldn't understand how the woman she'd mocked and belittled had become Silas Voss's wife, the man Ethan had spent his entire life trying to outrun. Watching their shocked, bitter faces, I felt a weight lift from my chest. For the first time in years, I breathed freely. Silas took my hand, his large, warm palm wrapping around my cold fingers. Mrs. Voss, he said, his voice soft and focused. Let's go home. Those 2 words, Mrs. Voss, go home, sent a shiver down my spine. I nodded, letting him lead me out of the mansion, my head held high, as Ethan's enraged shouts echoed behind us. As we drove away, I knew my revenge had only just begun. Silas took me to his penthouse, a stunning top-floor apartment with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Hudson River. The decor was minimalist, black and white, sleek and luxurious, a reflection of his taste and power. He led me to the living room, where a document lay on the coffee table. Read this. Sign if you agree. It was a marital agreement. The terms were simple. He'd help me get revenge on Ethan and Chloe, reclaim what was mine. In return, I'd act as his wife for a year, attending events with him when needed. After a year, we'd divorce amicably, and he'd give me a substantial settlement, a straightforward transaction, no strings attached. Why me? I asked, looking up at him. Silas leaned back on the couch, his legs crossed, exuding lazy confidence. Because you're the only one who can destroy Ethan. I understood. He wanted to use me to hurt his worst enemy. I didn't hesitate. I picked up the pen and signed my name, Luna Reed Voss. From that moment on, I was no longer just Luna. I was Mrs. Voss. Good, Silas said, tucking the agreement away. Your room is on the 2nd floor, first door on the left. Tell the housekeeper if you need anything. I followed the housekeeper upstairs. When I opened the bedroom door, I froze. The room was spacious, with a private balcony and a stunning view of the river. But what surprised me most was the walk-in closet, filled with designer dresses, suits, and casual wear, all in my size. On the vanity, my favorite skincare and makeup brands were neatly arranged. It was too thoughtful. Dinner that night shocked me even more. The table was filled with my favorite dishes, none of which had cilantro. I hated cilantro, a tiny detail Ethan had never bothered to remember. But Silas, who'd only known me for 2 days, had noticed. How did you know? I don't like cilantro. Silas cut his steak, his voice casual. If you want to know something, you find a way. His tone gave nothing away, but my heart skipped a beat. This feeling, being seen, being cared for, was something I'd never experienced with Ethan. Even in a transactional marriage, Silas treated me with respect and decency. I smiled, hiding my emotions behind my wine glass. It was time to focus on revenge. My first target, Ethan's prized downtown Brooklyn development project. 3 days after moving into Silas's penthouse, I sought him out. I know how to hit Ethan where it hurts. Silas looked up from his papers, gesturing for me to continue. Downtown Brooklyn. Ethan's pouring most of Cross Enterprises' cash flow into building a commercial complex there. He's staking his reputation on this project. He thinks it'll prove he's more than just a spoiled heir. I leaned forward, my voice sharp with hatred. What he doesn't know is that the land has serious geological issues. It's unstable. Building high-rises there will cause catastrophic foundation settlement. In my past life, this project bankrupted Cross Enterprises. Silas's eyes narrowed. Is this reliable? Absolutely. Have your team run a geological survey. You'll have the proof in 2 days. He didn't ask how I knew. We were partners. He only cared about results. Good, he said, picking up the phone. He spoke in fluent German, issuing concise orders. His efficiency was breathtaking. The next day, he confirmed my information was correct. What's your plan? I want him to think he's won, then watch him fall. Silas smiled, a cold, sharp curve of his lips. As you wish. The next week was quiet for me. I read, worked out, and planned my next moves. For Ethan, it was a week of triumph. He outbid competitors for the downtown Brooklyn land, and the media hailed him as a rising star. I could almost picture his arrogance, his celebration parties, his boasts about making it on his own. He had no idea a trap was closing in. The day after Cross Enterprises' launch party for the project, anonymous emails flooded every investor, bank, and partner involved. Attached was the real geological survey report, proving the land was unfit for development. Chaos erupted. Investors pulled out. Banks froze loans. The millions Ethan had spent on the land became worthless. Not only was the project dead, but he also owed millions in penalties to partners. Cross Enterprises' cash flow collapsed overnight. Ethan was desperate, scrambling to find who'd betrayed him, but Silas's tracks were untraceable. I watched the news, laughing as Ethan was hounded by reporters, his face haggard and defeated. This was just the first gift. The game had only just begun. With his company in crisis, Ethan grew thinner and more frantic. Unable to find evidence of Silas's involvement, he blamed me. That afternoon, he showed up at Silas's penthouse, screaming like a madman. Luna, get out here. I know you did this. You and Silas are in cahoots. I was pruning roses in the garden when I heard him. The housekeeper asked if I wanted him removed. No, let him in. Some conversations needed to happen face to face. Ethan was escorted in, his eyes wild with rage. He lunged at me, grabbing my wrist. Did you do it? Did you ruin the downtown project? I winced in pain but didn't struggle. I stared at him coldly. What if I did? My calmness enraged him. You admit it. How dare you? What did the Cross family ever do to you? I laughed, a bitter, sharp sound. What did you do to me? Ethan, I married you for 3 years. I gave up my career, cooked for you, endured your mother's cruelty. I loved you with everything I had. But you used my family's money to fund your little affair with Chloe. You cheated on me, lied to me, and waited for me to die so you could marry her. Tears of anger filled my eyes. You owe me more than a project. Ethan, you owe me a life. Ethan stumbled back, his face turning red then white. He'd never seen me like this, strong, unapologetic, furious. He looked at my designer dress, the mansion behind me, and something like regret flickered in his eyes. He released my wrist, his voice softening. Luna, I know I was wrong. I neglected you, but we're still married. Come back to me. I'll end things with Chloe. We can start over. I stared at him in disbelief. He thought he could just apologize and I'd forgive him, that I was some toy he could pick up and put down. Spare me your fake remorse, I said, stepping back. The moment I got into Silas's car, our relationship became nothing but hatred. The Cross family's downfall is your own fault. Now get out. The bodyguards moved forward, escorting him out. As the door closed, I felt no sympathy. He'd made his bed. Now he had to lie in it. A month later, the Voss Empire hosted a grand charity gala. As Silas's wife, I was expected expected to attend. I wore a starry blue gown he'd picked out, my hair pulled back to show my neck. When I descended the stairs, Silas's eyes lit up with admiration. He held out his hand, and I took it. "You look beautiful," he whispered in my ear. My cheeks warmed. The gala was held at New York's most exclusive hotel, filled with celebrities, billionaires, and socialites. Silas was the center of attention, and as his wife, I felt every eye on me. I was nervous, but Silas squeezed my hand gently. "Stay close. I won't let anyone hurt you." His touch calmed me, but some people just couldn't stay away. We ran into Ethan and Chloe. Ethan looked even more haggard, dark circles under his eyes. His gaze was filled with hatred. Chloe, as always, wore a white dress and a fake innocent smile, but her eyes were green with jealousy as she watched Silas's arm around my waist. As we passed them, Chloe tripped, spilling her red wine straight for me. It was a cheap trick. She'd used it on me before, trying to humiliate me in public. But this time, I was ready. Before I could dodge, Silas pulled me into his arms, blocking me with his body. The wine soaked his expensive custom suit, every drop. Chloe gasped, her eyes wide with fake shock. "Oh no. Mr. Voss, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to." Silas's face turned icy. He didn't look at Chloe. He checked me for stains. "Are you okay?" I shook my head, satisfied I was unharmed. He turned to Chloe, his voice cold enough to freeze the room. "Get out." Chloe's face paled. She looked to Ethan for help. Ethan stepped forward, his voice tight. "Mr. Voss, she didn't mean it. It was an accident." Silas cut him off with a laugh. "Control your pet. I don't want her anywhere near my wife again." He gestured to the event organizers. "Remove her. She's banned from all Voss-sponsored events." The organizers didn't dare disobey. Security escorted Chloe out, her cries echoing through the ballroom. The crowd fell silent. Everyone stared at Silas, shocked by his protectiveness, terrified of his power. As we walked away, I looked up at Silas's broad back. For the first time in my life, I felt safe. I felt cherished. But I didn't know Chloe was planning an even bigger attack. Humiliated by the gala incident, Chloe turned to dirty tactics. Soon, tabloids and social media were flooded with lies about me. I'd cheated on Ethan with Silas while still married. I was a gold digger who'd abandoned her husband for money. The posts were accompanied by sneaky photos from the gala, making it look like I'd seduced Silas. It was classic Chloe, playing the victim while destroying others. She ran to Margaret, sobbing about how I'd ruined her life. Margaret, who'd always doted on Chloe, was furious. She stormed into Silas's penthouse the next afternoon. I was reading in the living room when the housekeeper rushed in. "Ma'am, Mrs. Cross is here." She forced her way in. Margaret burst into the room, pointing her finger at me. "Luna Reed, you shameless hussy. The Cross family made a mistake when we married you. You cheated on Ethan, embarrassed Chloe, and now you're parading around as Mrs. Voss. How dare you?" Her screams were shrill, her words cruel. In my past life, I'd cried, begged for her to believe me. Now, I just watched her, amused. Silas appeared at the top of the stairs, his face dark. Margaret saw him and grew bolder, thinking she could save him from me. "Mr. Voss, don't be fooled by this woman. She's a liar, a cheater. She'll betray you just like she betrayed Ethan." Silas walked down the stairs, standing beside me. He wrapped an arm around my waist, his gaze cold. "Mrs. Cross, this is my home. You're not welcome here." Margaret's faltered, but she didn't back down. "But it's true. Look online, everyone's talking about her." Silas looked at me, a faint smile playing on his lips. "Is that so?" Before Margaret could speak, I stepped forward. "Mom, before you call me a liar, let's talk about your poor, fragile Chloe." I pulled out my phone, opening an album. "You say she's too sick to take care of herself. Then explain these photos: her scuba diving in the Maldives last month, skiing in Switzerland the month before, shopping at Paris Fashion Week." I showed her the photos. Chloe in a bikini, laughing with men, looking healthier than ever. Margaret's face turned ashen. That's impossible. Chloe would never, wouldn't she?" I pulled up a voice recording. It was Chloe talking to her friend, her voice triumphant. "Luna's such an idiot," I said, my stomach hurt. "And Ethan rushed over at 2 a.m. And his mom. That old hag is so easy to manipulate." I cry a little, and she yells at Luna for me. "The Cross mansion will be mine soon. Luna's just a stepping stone." The room fell silent. Margaret's body trembled with rage. She'd spent years doting on Chloe, defending her, and now she realized she'd been played for a fool. I wasn't done. I pulled up screenshots of Chloe's texts with a tabloid editor, detailing how she'd paid them to spread lies about me, how to twist the narrative to make me look like a villain. "Now do you see, Mom?" I said, my voice cold. "That's your innocent Chloe. She's been lying to you, using Ethan, and mocking you behind your back." Margaret couldn't take it. Her eyes rolled back, and she collapsed. The housekeeper rushed to catch her. Silas Silas frowned. Call an ambulance. Send her back to the Cross mansion. I watched her being carried out, feeling no sympathy. This was what she deserved for enabling Ethan's cruelty. Chloe's days of playing the victim were over. Margaret survived the collapse, but was left shaken. She cut off all contact with Chloe, refusing to speak to her. The Cross family descended into chaos. Margaret blamed Ethan for choosing Chloe. Ethan blamed Margaret for interfering, and Chloe cried and begged for forgiveness. Silas didn't let up. He used his business connections to poach Cross Enterprises' top clients and core team. With its cash flow already crippled by the Brooklyn project, the company couldn't survive. Stock prices plummeted, and the media turned on Ethan. He spent his days begging for investors, his nights drinking to forget. No one wanted to help him. No one dared to cross Silas Voss. One night, he showed up at Silas's penthouse, drunk and defeated. He sat on the steps, whispering my name. Luna, I'm sorry. Please come back. The security guards showed me the footage. I watched him for a moment, then turned it off. Regret came too late. It was time for the final blow. I found Silas in his study, handing him a USB drive. This is the evidence we need to destroy him, for good. Silas inserted it into his computer. The screen filled with bank records, property deeds, and fake financial statements. In my past life, Ethan embezzled millions from Cross Enterprises to buy Chloe a beach house in the Caribbean. He had his CFO cook the books to cover it up. Silas's eyes turned cold. What do you want? I want him to lose everything, his reputation, his freedom, his wealth. I want the world to see what a monster he really is. Silas closed the laptop. Standing up, he brushed a strand of hair from my face, his touch gentle. As you wish. He didn't go to the police. He wanted to make Ethan suffer. Publicly. Silas posed as a foreign investor, offering a lifeline to the failing Cross Enterprises. Ethan, desperate, clung to the opportunity. He handed over the fake financial statements, believing he could fool the investor. At the press conference announcing the rescue investment, Ethan stood on stage, beaming with pride. But as he spoke, the screen behind him changed. Instead of the company's promotional video, it displayed the embezzlement records, the beach house deed, and the real financial statements. The room erupted in chaos. Cameras flashed, reporters shouted, and Ethan's face turned white as a sheet. He was ruined. The scandal broke nationwide. Cross Enterprises stock became worthless. Investors sued, banks foreclosed, and employees rioted. Within a week, the company filed for bankruptcy. Ethan was arrested for embezzlement and fraud. I watched the news footage of him being led away in handcuffs, his hair graying, his eyes empty. He looked 20 years older, no trace of the arrogant millionaire he'd once been. In that moment, all the pain, all the hatred, all the injustice I'd suffered vanished. My revenge was complete. As for Chloe, she'd vanished as soon as Ethan fell. She took the last of his cash and jewelry, fleeing the country without a backward glance. Her love had always been about money, and now that Ethan had none, she was gone. The Cross family collapsed with him. Margaret had a stroke, left paralyzed and confined to a nursing home, spending her days in regret. Karma is a cruel mistress. They'd all gotten what they deserved. I turned off the TV, sighing in relief. The sun streamed through the windows, warming my face. I felt light, free, like I'd shed a heavy chains. Silas walked in, handing me a cup of warm milk. It's over. I smiled, looking up at him. Thank you, Silas, for everything. He stared at me, his dark eyes filled with emotion I couldn't read. What will you do now, Luna? I thought for a moment. Fulfill our agreement, then start my own design studio, rediscover who I am. I thought our relationship would end with revenge, but Silas had other plans. The next day, I went to him to discuss ending our marriage. Silas, I appreciate everything you've done. Our agreement. He cut me off. Stepping around his desk, he stood close, his eyes burning with a passion I'd never seen. My heart raced as I stepped back. Luna, he said, his voice rough with emotion. Did you really think I helped you just for the agreement? Before I could respond, he pulled out our marital agreement and tore it to shreds. Paper fluttered to the floor like snow. Silas, what are you? He pulled me into his arms, holding me tightly, as if he was afraid I'd disappear. His breath was warm against my ear. I didn't marry you to hurt Ethan. I married you because the night I saw you in the rain, broken, angry, yet so strong, I knew I wanted you to be mine, really mine. He pulled back, cupping my face. I researched you because I cared. I knew you hated cilantro, loved vintage design, dreamed of opening your own studio, not because of a deal, because I wanted to know you. My eyes widened. He'd liked me from the beginning. I admit, I had an agenda when I first approached you, he said, his voice soft. But watching you suffer, watching you fight, I fell for you. I wanted to protect you, to make you happy. He brushed away my tears. You've been hurt enough, Luna. Let me give you a real home, a real marriage. He knelt down, taking my hand. Will you marry me? For real this time? Not as a transaction, as the woman I love. Tears streamed down my face, not from pain, but from joy, from hope. In my darkest hour, Silas had been my light. He'd seen me at my worst and loved me anyway. I nodded, laughing through my tears. Yes, I'll marry you. Silas lifted me into his arms, spinning me around, his face lighting up with a smile I'd never seen before. Warm, genuine, happy. He kissed me softly, his lips gentle against mine. Mrs. Voss, he whispered. Let's go home. Our real home. I leaned into his arms, listening to his steady heartbeat. The past was behind me. My future was bright, filled with love, respect, and the freedom to be myself. This time, I wouldn't let happiness slip away. Thank you for reading today's story. If you enjoyed it, please like and share with your friends. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe for more exciting stories. See you next time.